Welcome to Arc Republic's first election watch. Yes, our first election watch. Yay! I am Kaya Nyambi Shivers, your editor-in-chief. This evening, Arc Republic will bring you updates on elections across the country, and we'll have some contributors to help us provide real-time news on what is going on in one of the most contentious elections in recent history. Right now, reports show that a record number of people have already cast their ballots before November 3rd, almost 100 million folk. 35 million early in person and almost 64 mail-in ballots have already been recorded. This is just to give you an idea of how historical this major election is. In 2016, in total, there were 137 million votes cast in total. So people are about their business right now because people, for good, better, and different, want to see some change. Now, before we get into the contributors and giving real-time updates, I want to go over a couple of important things or information that you should know. According to Pew Research, right now in the country, there are about 34% voters who identify as independents, 33% identify as Democrats, and 29% identify as Republicans. 49% of all registered voters either identify as Democrats or lean to that party, while 44% identify as Republicans or lean to the GOP. Now, the biggest voting bloc in the United States are white Americans, and they account for 67% of eligible voters and are currently 69% of registered voters, while Latinos and Black voters each share 11%. Now, coming into these elections, there have been identified 13 battleground states. Now, a battleground state is a state that can either swing majority Republican or majority Democrat. And those states right now are Arizona, Ohio, North Carolina, Iowa, Michigan, Florida, Georgia, Nevada, Texas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and New Hampshire. Now, in these key battleground states, white voters make up a large percentage of 4 of the 13 battleground states. So this is more so than likely going to be a nail biter. And I also want to bear in mind that 9 million people have cast their vote in Florida, Hawaii, Montana, Texas, and Washington already, which surpasses all of their votes in early voting in 2016. Now, in the presidential elections, there are what we would call 4 possible outcomes. One is called the thin red line. The thin red line is where you have a Republican president, a Republican Senate, and a Democratic House. Then you have a blue tie, which is a Democratic president, a Republican Senate, and a Democratic House. The next is a red redux, where you have a Republican president, Senate, and House. And lastly, you have the blue wave, which is a Democratic president, Senate, and House. But I think the biggest question many ask is that when will all the votes be counted? Now, depending on how everything rolls out, those votes can take days or even weeks. Leading up to the presidential election, this is for sure that President Donald Trump has already indicated that he might not concede, and he definitely will challenge the vote if he does not win. Also bear in mind that there are states that have so many voters that it is going to take a while to vote everything. For example, California has 15 million registered voters. So there are some states with lesser voters that we're going to see the outcome tonight, but then there are going to be other states where we are going to have to wait and see. So as a result, tonight's updates are just to start a dialogue that might linger well into the winter holidays. I know, we all want this over, but I think we've all come to this point. So the first person we're gonna bring on is actually Dame Crawford, who is a new contributor to Arc Republic. Dame Crawford, we're gonna punch him in, and we're looking forward to the dialogue. Okay, we got Dame Crawford, our first contributor. What up, Dame? How are you doing?
What's going on, Kaya? How are you doing today? I'm great.
Oh, man, we are here. It is November 3rd. Finally. this was like a 4-year wait. I mean, for real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Wow. So, so you are going to be part of a crew. We're going to be covering these elections as much as we possibly can. Tonight, you are the first person. So, the first question that I have is that what is it like? Where are you? What is it like? What's the atmosphere?
I'm in California. It's a lot more chill than I thought it would be. It's a lot of engagement going on. I've been fielding calls all day today from friends and family members who want to go through propositions, who want to talk about the judges, who want to find out about the DAs and all of that. Like phone calls that I have never received on the day of voting, which I think is awesome. I'm actually very proud of everybody who's really being engaged. A lot of people, it's their first time ever voting, and I'm proud of them as well. And I feel like there has been a conscious awakening for some Black people in this country in regards to the system and how to utilize it, and for how we need to use our voice. That's what I feel like I'm seeing. And down in Beverly Hills and all those places, they boarding everything up. They're not boarding stuff up down here in the hood, though. That's the crazy thing. I'm like, that's a first.
It's all good in the hood.
Right.
You could come have a drink in the hood.
Yeah, like we good down here. Like y'all try to come down here with that BS, it's gonna be something else.
Word. Yeah, exactly. Well, do you feel like there's more of a sense of people feel like their voting does have power and that it does matter and they could actually affect some type of change with it?
Absolutely. Not only do I feel like people think they're, voting is, there's a pride that I feel, a sense of pride that's going on out here. People are like, you know what, I want my voice to be heard. I want to be a part of the process. And not only do they want to be a part of the process, because most times, like me and you talked about, people were blindly voting, just voting Democrat, just voting. To this time, I feel like we have a lot more informed voters, people actually caring about what's in the propositions, people asking about specific measures. These are things that I haven't encountered often. And that's what I'm seeing today. That's what I'm seeing, like I said, not only phone calls, Messenger, on my Facebook, my Instagram, like all of my social media. I'm fielding questions today about different measures, which I'm, more than happy to do. And I just think there is like a sense of pride and a sense of we can help with change.
What is that saying for what needs to go on from now on, from today on, in terms of activating voters, informing voters, and so that they have a place where they can not only understand or read through propositions and measures, but also have constructive dialogue because this election cycle was so divisive and it was a lot of voter shaming. There was a lot of like Bloods and Crips banging on wax type stuff
Right,
going
right.
on. So what do you think needs to happen from now on?
I think thought leaders like us, places like here, Arc Republic, I think we need to continue to push the line and continue to keep people engaged. I think we need to try to make sure that it's not only every 4 years, which I'm also hearing because I had a friend who's in Texas who she didn't get to vote, and she was actually sad she didn't get to vote. She's like, I'm in Texas. I'm not going to get to vote today. She said, but they're not going to keep me away in 2 years. I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting because
Mm.
she's one of those people who's just now getting into politics, but now she's already talking about coming out for the midterms. So these are things that we have to make sure we increase people knowing about midterms, people knowing when they're coming, people knowing about the candidates, and just do our jobs as media, a different media, alternative media, to help keep our people engaged and keep our people informed and keep them in the fight, because that's what we're going to have to do to enact real change. It can't be, if we want anything to happen with Republicans, Democrats, or possibly the Lincoln Party, who launched their exploratory committee today, which means they are going to be starting to come into being a viable third party. And so, if be it the three of them, we have to stay engaged with whatever three will be in power to make sure that we have our voice heard, and we have to do a better job of making sure it's not an every 4 year relationship with either party.
And there's a lot to do between now and the midterm election. So,
Absolutely.
so with that being said, I wanted to know what is the Latino community doing in Los Angeles? I know we talk a lot about the Black community. Black community is only about 6, 7, maybe 8% of Los Angeles. What are your feelers in terms of that community?
I know it seems anecdotal, but just like the same way with the Black Trump supporters, because they seem so loud, it seems like it's more of them. Um,
Interesting.
you know what I
Okay.
mean? Because if you really look at the numbers, even if you say 10 to 13% of Black men voted Trump, that means over 80% still voting for for Biden, right? If you have, I think the number is actually higher for Latino men though, and
Right.
we've spoken about this because a lot of Latino men are very attracted to that old school machismo that Donald Trump likes to exhibit, and then you have the white representing Latinos who are always they have this weird kind of contempt for illegal immigrants who haven't done it the right way. That's what I hear from them often. You know, they need to come in and do it the right way. So there's this contempt. So they seem to get behind the administrations, the people that are from more harsher penalties for illegal immigrants.
Right, especially, interestingly, not acknowledging the racism that comes in with immigration, and how, in particular, white Cubans get in, or fair skinned Cubans get in before Haitians, or Mexicans, and so on and so forth.
Absolutely.
All of that, all of that colorism, racism that goes into that. But so, with that being said, what are some hotbed issues that a lot of people are talking about, that you've been engaging in terms of the propositions? We went over all the propositions, but what are some things that you're seeing right now?
I'm seeing people are really concerned, of course, about the Uber, the Uber
Okay.
proposition. Um, there's still relitigation of the '94 crime bill, but what I'm starting to see is people on their own are starting to be a little more informed on the '94 crime bill and the '86 drug bill. And they're starting to put things a little bit in context. Like, I'm seeing people who I've been having these conversations with over the past few months are
Mhm.
starting to be like, yo, I went out and I researched for myself, and I was looking at the climate of what was going on at the time and looking at the people who backed the bill and da da da. And so now I feel like, again, we are at a time where people are starting to go look for themselves as opposed to just reading a meme or reading somebody else's Facebook post, and or reading some, watching some YouTube conspiracy video. They're actually going out for themselves, getting the information. So, like I say, I'm seeing a lot of the '94 crime bill being relitigated between people. A lot of those conversations, a lot of the who's more racist, Biden or Trump conversations. I see a lot more
Mhm.
policy talk though,
Mhm.
and finally, I'm starting to see Biden voters getting more educated to where now they are coming back with points that aren't strictly about just getting Donald Trump out. Because for so long, that's what we saw, right? For so long, a lot of it was, I'm voting for Biden literally just to get Trump out. But now I'm starting to see some actual counterpoints in regards to the Platinum Plan versus the Lift Every Voice plan, some counterpoints in regards to the COVID, the way that the administration handled COVID, talking about the economy, talking about the tax plan and the tax break. These are conversations that I'm starting to see on a more regular basis, in the social media space. So I
Mhm.
think it's a fascinating thing, and fascinating times to see us again just starting to become more educated voters.
So there are two local votes, or two local elections, that I want us to circle back on. One is against Maxine Waters and Joe Collins. We
Joe
said Jackie
Collins and
Collins.
Maxine, yeah,
Yeah, Joe Collins, and
Joe
the other
Collins, yeah,
one is the DA, Jackie Lacey, and was it Gaston? Is his last name?
Gascon, yeah,
Yes. So there has been some straight thugging in the streets between Maxine Waters
yo,
and Joe Collins, because when we talked, you said that she had some ads run on the local radio. KJLH is a radio station, for those of you who don't know. It's owned by Stevie Wonder. And
yes,
it's the probably the last black owned radio station in Los Angeles. It's very
it's
highly
yeah.
popular. There's in the morning time, do they still have it where there's like a talk, a community talk, or a political talk?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so it's considered not only music, but it also is very central in terms of discourse in the African American community. What I had heard today was is that Joe Collins started running some grimy
He's run
ads.
he run some grimy ass that had a catchy song that a lot of people are like singing the catchy song.
Oh, okay, all right. What's the temperature on that?
Okay, so the temperature on that is a lot of people feel like Maxine has been there too long. A lot of people agree with the sentiment of Joe Collins and what he said about Maxine, but those same people also don't feel like Joe Collins is the right candidate to take her
Right,
place.
right.
We had a hood check. because he was in his you know how we do.
You
He
got
was
to do
in
the
his
hood check. Okay, explain what's the hood check. You know,
okay.
we know what the hood check is. But what's the hood check?
Yeah. So the hood check is he was in his first campaign video, one of his campaign videos, talking about he grew up on 104th and Normandy.
104th and Normandy.
They see, and there go the hood check
I
right
live
there.
on
Everybody,
106 in Normandy. Hold on for a minute. Let's wheel this back. Okay, all right. Do the hood check. I want to know what's the results.
The results is no. A lot of people knew his grandparents because his grandparents had the church over there. I forgot the name of the church, but there's a church. The Collins family had a church right near 104th and Normandy as well. But they said
is that over there? That's by the library.
Yes.
Yeah, by that library.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
So the Collins, so people knew the Collins family. Nobody knew him. So he did this whole ad about he was growing up in, growing up on 104th and Normandy, but we found out he left at around 4 years old and went to Dallas and then graduated from high school in Dallas and then went to the service. And then after the service, that's when he came back and they said he was trying to run as a Democrat, run for president or something as a Democrat first. And then that didn't work, so he jumped on the Trump train. And shout out to one of my Facebook friends, Earl Brown. He's married to one of my friends who went to Century Park Elementary School with me.
Okay.
Yeah. He's married to one of my friends, Shantae. And he said he went to go sit down and talk to him at the office. He said he wanted to give him a chance to see what's going on. And he said when he went, he realized he was spitting him a bunch of BS the whole time. He said he claimed he wasn't a Trump supporter because he was asking him specifically about that. He said, but then the next day in his rally that he had over on 135th at the park, he had a bunch of people from
Raleigh Park?
Yeah, Raleigh Park. Yep, he had a bunch of people, Blacks for Trump, up there with him from Raleigh Park, and he was pushing that Trump line the next day. He also just said, I was trying to ask him about specific policy, and he said he literally had no specific policy for me. And then we went to his page to go through his policy, and it looks a lot like the Platinum Plan if you go to his page. So he didn't pass the hood check. He didn't pass the plan check. He didn't pass the issues check. So, like I said, a lot of people understand the sentiment and feel like this might be Maxine's last hurrah, but he's not it.
Right. Well, I think also another thing about politics is that a lot of people don't run to win. People run for money. So I know his coffers was fattened.
He came up because I think they said he raised $9 million for this race.
Yeah. Oh, because people hate Maxine Waters. They hate her with a passion.
Yeah.
I am totally not surprised. So he is about to move on up out of the east side or the west side,
Oh yeah, he came up for sure.
Yeah, so that's what that is about. So that's really good. So what has been though, if Collins' policy is puff, what is Maxine Waters' plan? What are her policies? What is she saying that she's going to do other than get Trump out of office?
Well, see, the thing that Maxine has on her side is, and a lot of it is because she has been blocked by Mitch McConnell. There has been some good bills that she's been a co-sponsor on with Karen Bass. Some bills about the Black reparations. I wish I could pull them up. I'll have them for the next update. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll have them for the next update. But there's one for reparations that she was on. There's one for the George Floyd bill. There's a few big bills that she's on and that she's co-sponsoring, that she's pushing in the Senate, that Mitch McConnell just letting sit in the House right now.
Okay, well that's a good point. We want to earmark that because it's very strong that there will be a Democratic House and Senate. So let's see how much of work will be put in, but we don't know. Let me not, count my eggs before they hatch, right?
Right.
Count my chickens before the eggs hatch. Okay. All right. So another thing is that what do you think are some of the outcomes from this high voter turnout? I mean, because the voter turnout crazy.
100 million before polls open today. 100 million votes already cast before the polls open today. That's unheard of.
What do you think is going to be the impact from that? Just in general, what do you think?
Well, historically, we have seen that high voter turnout is better for Democrats than it is for Republicans, which is why Republicans often go with either gerrymandering or suppressing the vote, because low voter turnout gives you, because Trump had, it was low voter turnout, even though Hillary won by 3 million in the popular vote, it was still low voter turnout, and there were key places in swing states, for example, that were really close. I don't know if a lot of people know this. Like in Detroit, Michigan, 10,000 less people voted for Hillary that voted for Barack, and Trump, I think, won that place by 15,000 votes. Mm-hmm. Right. So it was some very, very tight margins in some of those swing states that Black people didn't come out to vote for Hillary, that I think they will come out this time. I think you're also going to get a big fuse of Trump voters are going to be coming out to vote this time, because, of course, they want to keep things the same. But I think they said the amount of voters that were new registers favored Democrats this time.
Okay. All right. Well, that is definitely encouraging, but we won't know, until
and some races to look out for: Florida, North Carolina, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Look out for those four: Florida, North Carolina, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, because Trump needs all four of those to win. Biden doesn't need all four of those to win, but Trump does. And he can't lose any red states that have seemed to be on the cusp, like Arizona. They're saying he might lose Arizona, Georgia, and Texas, all three of those. So a Republican hasn't won the presidency without Florida in 96 years.
Oh.
And
with that, and I know there was initiatives prior to get felons to vote. Let's look and see if that, because I know that there was talks saying that Bloomberg was supposed to fund something, LeBron James was supposed to fund something in order to help pay off the fines and fees that felons had in order for them to vote. I don't know exactly if that came into fruition, but I think maybe let's check that and see, and perhaps maybe that plays a part in to see how Florida swings.
Okay.
Okay. So anything else? These are very quick check-ins. I know this is a long night.
It's a long night, but we in for it. Wait, we in for the long haul tonight.
We in for the long. This is a marathon, baby. Rest in peace, Nip. So,
that's right.
But I wanted to know anything that we missed that you wanted to add in this. Any more you think elections or propositions you want to talk about?
Not just yet. I think it's very early, so it's slow and steady. So I don't want to, give too much burn to anything right now. I think we'll probably have a good idea of things forming when we come back in for the next check-in. So everybody make sure you check in for the next check-in, because I think we will start to see a few returns from some of those southern states. We will see a few returns from Florida, a few returns from Ohio, Pennsylvania. We'll start to know what those things starting to look like, and I'll have a better grasp on what the night might look like for us.
Okay, that sounds good. Now, starting a couple of days ago, a lot of people were expressing anxiety. Some people were expressing worry. Some people were expressing anger. Let's end this with a few words of encouragement to those who are listening, so we can move forward in strength and light.
Well, what's encouraging to me is, and I say this in all earnest, no matter who wins this election, I feel like there has been a beast awakened in us that cannot be put back to sleep in regards to voting, being engaged. And I don't want people to get discouraged if Trump ends up winning. I know it's hard, but I don't want us to get discouraged, because I feel like if we continue to become educated voters, continue to push the lines of the Senate and the Congress, because there's still a chance, even if he wins, that you can have him going up against a Democratic Senate and Congress for the rest of his terms, right? So I think, to me, the encouraging thing is we have to continue to educate ourselves and continue to get better at learning these issues and pushing lines for ourselves, because we can't no longer wait for Superman to come save us. And I think we are starting to figure that out, and I just want us to continue that.
I appreciate you so much. This is Dame Crawford. I forgot to say, of Uncouth Radio. Dame Crawford, I appreciate you. I look forward to checking back with you in a couple of hours. Be safe.
All right. See you soon.
All right.